My name's Evan. I'm 32, and up until last Christmas, I thought my family was flawed but functional. You know, the kind of dysfunction you roll your eyes at, but tolerate because, well, they're family. That illusion shattered in the weeks following my breakup with Kara. We'd been together for nearly 6 years. My mom used to call her the daughter she never had. My cousins invited her to girls' nights and spa weekends. She fit in like some custom puzzle piece my family didn't know they were missing. So, when things fell apart between us, I didn't expect them to throw her out. But I didn't expect them to throw me out either. The breakup wasn't messy, at least not from the outside. No cheating, no screaming matches, just slow emotional erosion. Kara wanted kids yesterday, and I wasn't sure I wanted them at all. We tried counseling, we talked, we argued, we cried. Eventually, she packed a suitcase, left me the apartment key, and walked out. I didn't chase her. That apparently was my big crime. I didn't tell anyone right away I needed space, but Kara did. She went straight to my mom's house sobbing, saying she didn't know what went wrong, that I just gave up on her. My mother called me 3 days later, not to ask how I was, not even to confirm the breakup. She just said, "I hope you know you've hurt her deeply, Evan. She deserves better." Click. That was it. The next week, I got a group text from my aunt confirming details for the annual family Christmas dinner. Location, Grandma's house, same as always. Time, 5:00 p.m. sharp. I hadn't decided if I'd go. Everything felt raw and weird. Then I noticed something odd. Kara was tagged in the group. Kara, my ex, who hadn't been family for barely a month, so I replied asking if that was a mistake. My uncle answered before anyone else. "She's still family to us. Evan, don't make this awkward." Don't make this awkward. The phrase ricocheted in my head for hours, as if I was the one disturbing the peace, as if I was the storm they had to tiptoe around, not the guy who lost his partner and got quietly erased from his own family traditions. I told myself not to read too much into it. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Then my mom called. She never calls unless it's serious. "Hi, honey, listen. I know this year's a bit different," she began, in that overly sweet tone she uses before saying something awful. "But we've all decided it would be best if you come to Christmas only if you promise not to make a scene. We just want things to be peaceful for the kid. Peaceful for the kids." And there it was. Not only was Kara still invited, she had apparently been given my seat. Literally. Grandma always made place cards. I found out from my cousin Jess that mine was missing this year. Kara was sitting between Mom and Aunt Lisa. "It's just easier." Jess had texted like that made it okay, like I was a problem to manage. Not a son, not a human being. I sat in my apartment that night, the silence pressing in, and laughed. Not bitterly, not angrily, just this quiet, exhausted laugh. It hit me how ridiculous it all was. I'd bent over backwards for this family, paid off my parents' mortgage when Dad got sick, helped my uncle's failing business stay afloat during the pandemic. I even co-signed a car loan for my brother last year, and now I was being asked not to make things awkward. So I replied to my mom the next morning, just one sentence. "I'd rather freeze alone than pretend this is family." Then I turned off my phone. For the next few days, I didn't hear a word from anyone. No one called, no one checked on me. But I had a few things I needed to take care of, specifically a few levers I could pull. See, what no one in my family ever really understood was how much they relied on me behind the scenes. They liked to brag about sticking together and doing things as a team, but when push came to shove, it was usually me footing the bill or cleaning up the mess. And I had receipts, literal ones. I didn't do anything right away. I gave them time. I wanted to see if anyone would reach out, apologize, maybe even show a shred of empathy. They didn't. But I did notice that on Christmas Eve, Kara posted a photo on Instagram of her and my mom in matching aprons laughing in the kitchen. The caption read, "Back where I belong, family." My stomach twisted, but only for a moment. That night, I opened my laptop. I logged into the car loan portal first, the one I co-signed for my brother Josh. I didn't cancel anything. I just removed myself as the guarantor. That instantly triggered a credit review on his account. He'd missed a few payments. I knew that I'd been covering them quietly to protect his score. Then I opened the mortgage lender's site. The payments were current, but only because I had a recurring wire set up for my business account. I canceled it. The next installment was due January 5th. Next, my uncle's storefront, his little cafe downtown that I'd helped lease under my name during COVID so he wouldn't default. I contacted the property manager and informed them I wouldn't be renewing the agreement. The lease was up in 3 months. Bill, I didn't say anything. I just waited. Christmas morning came and went. No texts, no calls, just another picture of Kara surrounded by my family. Captioned, "Home for the holidays." My jaw tightened, but I held it. I wasn't going to send angry messages or post cryptic Instagram quotes. I was going to let gravity do its work. And it did. On December 29th, my Aunt Lisa cracked first. She showed up outside my apartment building, shivering in a thin coat, holding a Tupperware of cookies like it was a peace offering. I didn't buzz her in, but I answered the intercom. "Evan, sweetie, please, we just want to talk," she said. Her voice trembled a bit. "Your uncle told me about the lease situation. He's panicking. Just tell us what you want." I didn't answer, not then. I watched her through the window from my second-floor apartment, clutching the Tupperware, looking up at my building like it might swallow her whole. After a minute, she walked away, her steps hesitant, almost like she expected me to come chasing after her. I didn't. Instead, I sat down at my desk, opened my notebook, the one where I'd written down every favor, every temporary loan, every quiet bailout I had provided over the last 5 years, and started drawing lines. Not out of pettiness, out of clarity. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't reacting emotionally. I was simply choosing not to keep enabling people who only saw my value when I was useful to them. December 30th, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out. Then again. 5 minutes later, then a text. "Evan, it's Josh. We need to talk, please. I'm at Mom's. Can we meet?" That one stung, I won't lie. My younger brother and I had always had a strange relationship. He was the golden boy growing up, captain of the football team, charmed turned up to 11. When he got fired from his job last year and had nowhere to turn, I didn't hesitate. I helped him get back on his feet, covered his loan payments, even drove 2 hours to help him move into a new place. And now he was calling me like I was the problem. I didn't reply. He called again that evening. This time he left a voicemail. "Evan, look, I didn't know what Mom and Kara were doing, okay? I thought you were fine with it. You didn't say anything. Please just call me back, man. They're freaking out." They're freaking out. Not "I'm sorry," not "I feel guilty." They were freaking out. Hey, December 31st, 11:40 p.m. While most people were drinking champagne and waiting for the ball to drop, I sat alone on my balcony with a drink and a blanket watching fireworks light up the city skyline. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Grandma, the woman whose house used to feel like neutral ground. She never took sides, never played favorites until this year. Her message was short. "I never meant to hurt you. Can we talk tomorrow?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed my phone and leaned back, listening to the city cheer the new year. For the first time in ages, I didn't feel pressure to fix everything. January 2nd, the dam finally burst. It was my mom who showed up this time. No warning, just a knock on my door at 7:30. I didn't answer right away. I stood on the other side, unsure if I even wanted to see her. But part of me, maybe the part that still remembered her hugging me when I got into college, or making my favorite soup when I was sick, needed to hear what she had to say. I opened the door. She looked tired, older somehow, like the holidays had drained her. Her makeup was smudged and her voice wavered. "Hi." I didn't move. "Mom." She hesitated, clutching her purse like it held all the right words. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I didn't say anything. She stepped forward slightly. "You have to understand. Kara was family. We just didn't want to lose her too. So, you decided to lose me instead." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair." "It's accurate," I cut in. "Calm, flat. You told me not to make things awkward. You gave her my seat. You let her take over my holiday, and you didn't even call to see if I was okay. Silence, then softly, I thought you needed space. I needed support, I replied, but I didn't realize support came with terms and conditions. She looked like she might cry, but I didn't feel the usual rush of guilt that used to follow. I'd spent years shrinking myself to make everyone else comfortable. Not anymore. Finally, she said, "Please just tell us what you want." I looked at her, really looked, and realized she wasn't asking how to fix things. She was asking how to get her comfort back. I could have asked for a lot, an apology, a family meeting, public accountability, but that would have been for them. I wasn't interested in teaching them a lesson. I was interested in rebuilding myself. So, I said, "I don't want anything, not anymore." She opened her mouth and closed it. No script, no quick fix, just the reality of a door she couldn't walk through anymore. I stepped back and shut the door gently. Later that day, I got an email from the leasing office of the cafe. My uncle had begged for a lease extension. I denied it. Then I finally logged into my bank and officially ended all automatic transfers to my parents' mortgage. The last string I had left was the business account, a shared account I'd opened years ago to help keep things in the family when we were planning group investments. I'd forgotten about it, honestly, but I checked it, and that's when I saw something that made my blood run cold. 2 months ago, while I was still with Kara, someone had made a withdrawal, a large one, almost 5 figures, labeled event prep. On the same day, Kara had posted about a mysterious girls' getaway, and the name on the authorization, Mom. I stared at it. Then I picked up my phone, took a screenshot, and attached it to a new email. It said, "Happy New Year. Let me know how you'd like to pay this back before I involve someone else." I hit send. The reply came faster than I expected. Less than 10 minutes after I hit send, I got a call. I didn't answer, then another, then a barrage of texts from my mother, all variations of "it's not what you think will explain everything, please don't do anything rash," and finally, "this will destroy your family, Evan. Is that what you want?" That one made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because of the sheer audacity of it, as if I was the one holding the sledgehammer, as if they hadn't already done the demolition brick by brick. And now they were panicking because someone finally noticed the house had no foundation. I didn't reply. Instead, I printed out the transaction record, highlighted the withdrawal, and added a note at the bottom. For review, this transaction was unauthorized. Formal action pending. Then I mailed a copy to the shared bank's fraud department and CC'd the branch manager I'd known for years. Nothing aggressive, just a nudge in the right direction. I wasn't bluffing. That money was in my name. That account was opened under my LLC for tax reasons. Technically, Mom had no legal access to it. Someone must have left the login open. Maybe Kara. Maybe one of my cousins who had temporary access during the holidays last year. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that it wasn't hers to touch. The silence that followed was delicious. No more texts, no more guilt-laced voicemails, just quiet until January 5th. That was the day the mortgage payment bounced. My father's name was still on the loan, but the payment had been coming from my business account for the last 2 years. Quietly, consistently, because back when he got sick and the family was too proud to ask for help, I'd offered to cover it behind the scenes so no one would feel ashamed. I never asked for thanks. Now the bank called not me, him. My father hadn't spoken to me since the breakup. Not a single word, not even a thumbs up emoji in the family chat. But that night, my phone rang. I recognized the number, landline, the old house. I picked up. "Evan!" His voice sounded like sandpaper. "Dad." A pause, long, heavy. "I just got off the phone with the bank," he said, like I didn't know. "Oh, right," I replied. "They probably want their money." "What are you doing?" His voice was cold, controlled. "Are you trying to punish us?" "No," I said simply. I'm just done pretending this is family." He exhaled sharply. "So this is about Kara." My jaw clenched. "This is about everything. You think we owe you for helping us? Is that it?" "I think," I said slowly, "that you all got very comfortable taking from me without ever once thinking you'd have to give anything back, or even treat me like a person." There another pause. "Then you're making a mistake." "No," I said. "You did when you chose Kara over me, when you invited her to Christmas and told me not to be awkward, when you made it clear that the only version of me you liked was the one who kept his mouth shut and his wallet open. I waited for him to say something, anything, but he didn't." He hung up. 20 hours later, my cousin Jess called. I ignored it. Then my aunt, then my brother again. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They weren't calling because they were sorry. They were calling because the system was collapsing. The mortgage was unpaid. The lease was expiring. The business accounts were being flagged. And that was before the real bomb dropped. January 7th, I got a call from the cafe landlord. Apparently my uncle had tried to negotiate a last-minute lease extension, except the property manager had already started showing the space to new tenants. They found a local bakery chain that was interested, and the manager had let it slip purely by accident that the reason the current leaseholder, me, was stepping away was due to unauthorized financial activity under the business. The cafe's biggest supplier heard the rumor, then the health inspector, who just happened to be married to the new bakery's owner. By January 10th, word was spreading that my uncle's cafe might be involved in fraud or tax evasion. It wasn't true, not entirely, but I didn't do anything to stop it. Why should I? Let them live in the fog for a while. Let them understand what it feels like to be treated like an inconvenience, a liability, a mess to clean up later. And that's when Kara finally reached out. A long, rambling email, no greeting, no subject line, just a wall of text. "I didn't know what they were doing. Your mom said you were fine with it. She said it was still our family. I just wanted to feel like I belonged. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Please believe me." She didn't apologize for the money, or the Christmas photos, or the caption that read, "Home for the holidays." Just a soft, sad attempt to reel me back into the same manipulation web they'd all been spinning for years. I archived the email without replying. That night I went to the mailbox and found a letter from my grandmother. Her handwriting, always so elegant, so deliberate, was shaky. "Evan, I don't know how we got here. I don't blame you for stepping away. But I hope you know that you were always my favorite. I just didn't know how to show it when things got loud. I'm sorry I stayed quiet. I hope you come back someday. But if you don't, I understand." That letter nearly broke me because I could feel the weight behind it. The regret, the sorrow, the too late honesty. I cried quietly, alone in my apartment, but I didn't call her. Not yet. They still didn't know the last piece, the trust. Back when I was still trying to build a future with Kara, I'd started setting up a family trust with my accountant. The plan was to use some of my tech startup windfall to build a generational safety net. College funds for cousins, retirement stipends for my parents, emergency grants for relatives in need. The paperwork had been filed, but the trust had never been finalized. The funds were still mine, and every single person who'd hurt me, they were all listed as future beneficiaries until now. I opened the doc, deleted every single name, paused, then typed one in. My goddaughter, my cousin's baby girl, the only one in the whole family too young to know what was happening. The only one I could look at and feel no resentment toward. Then I hit save. A few minutes later, my phone lit up again. Mom calling again. I stared at it, heart calm, fingers still. I let the call ring out. Then I turned off my phone. I knew what was coming. I could feel it like pressure building behind a dam. There was nothing left for them to spin, no angle they could work. The levers were pulled and the machine was breaking down in real time. Next morning, I opened my laptop and logged into the trust account, the one that once held the promise of generational safety for a family that never saw me as anything more than a tool. I'd already deleted the names of my parents, my uncle, my brother, even Jess, who had always meant well but never once stood up for me when it counted. The only name I kept was the baby girl, who still had a chance to grow up outside of this cycle. The rest, they were out. Then I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I got dressed. Not in sweats, not in something practical. I put on a suit, a dark navy one, the kind of thing I had worn during investor meetings, during tech pitches, when I used to pretend my worth was tied to what I could provide. Only this time, I wasn't wearing it to impress anyone. I was wearing it to walk into my parents' house with dignity. I drove the 20 minutes to their place without music, just the sound of tires on pavement and my thoughts unspooling like film. When I pulled up to the driveway, it looked the same, modest two-story with overgrown hedges and the same wind chimes that had annoyed me since high school. But inside, I knew everything was different. The door opened before I even knocked. My mom stood there, eyes swollen, her lips. Then, behind her, my dad lingered in the hallway, arms crossed, looking older than I remembered. "Evan," she said softly, like we were picking up from a normal day, like everything hadn't been unraveling since Christmas. "Mom," I said, "can we talk? That's why I'm here." She stepped aside and I walked in, the weight of silence hanging between us. We moved to the living room, same beige couch, same faded family photos, except one was missing. The framed picture of me and Kara from my sister's wedding. I noticed the empty space on the mantle immediately. Maybe they took it down out of guilt. Maybe Kara had asked for it. I didn't ask. I sat down. They didn't. "I don't even know where to start," my dad said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Try the beginning," I offered. "Maybe with how you thought it was okay to side with my ex-girlfriend over your own son." Well, my mom flinched. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that," I said. "You gave her my seat at Christmas dinner. You told me not to make it awkward, and you didn't even call to ask how I was doing, but you hugged her in the kitchen like she was the one who lost everything." My father opened his mouth, but I held up a hand. "I'm not here to rehash it," I said. "I've said everything I need to say. I came to tell you where things stand." They both looked at me, then really looked. For the first time in a long time, I think they saw me not as the son who would always come back, always help, always carry the weight, but as someone who had finally put it down. "I've pulled out of the mortgage," I said. "The bank's been notified. If you want to keep this house, you'll need to restructure the loan yourselves." My dad's jaw clenched, but he didn't interrupt. "I've also dissolved the shared business accounts and withdrawn the LLC sponsorship from the cafe lease. If Uncle Mark wants to keep that space, he'll need to sign a new lease with the landlord directly under his own credit." My mother's voice cracked. "Evan, we didn't mean to—" "I know," I said. "You just didn't think I'd ever stop." They looked at each other, a quiet panic in their expressions. I could tell they hadn't planned for this. They thought the texts, the voicemails, maybe even the visit from Grandma would soften me, that the guilt would wear me down the way it always had. But they were too late. "And the money," I added, "the withdrawal from my trust account, the one labeled Event Prep. I've reported it to the bank. If you pay it back by the end of the month, I'll drop the fraud report." My mom's mouth fell open. "That was unauthorized," I said, "and illegal." She sat down, suddenly looking like she might collapse. My dad remained standing, stiff and silent. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, tears slipping down her cheek. "We're your family." I leaned forward. "No," I said. "You were my obligation for years. You leaned on me. You used me. And when I needed you, not for money, not for favors, just for presence, you gave me rules, conditions, a warning not to be a burden." She sobbed quietly into her hands. My father remained still, stoic. I stood. "This is the last time we'll speak for a while," I said. "Not because I hate you, but because I'm learning to love myself more than I fear being alone." It didn't stop me as I walked out, and for once, I didn't look back. Weeks passed, then months. The fraud claim was settled quietly. The money was returned in full, likely borrowed from one of my dad's old friends. The cafe closed at the end of February, replaced by the bakery with the pastel storefront and morning jazz music. I walked by once, the windows were bright, the air smelled like fresh bread and cinnamon. It felt like closure. Jess tried to reach out a few times, a text here, a photo of her niece there. I replied once, simply, hope she's doing well. She's the only one I'm leaving anything to. She never replied again. My uncle tried to smear me for a bit, called me ungrateful, said I turned my back on family, but no one listened. His cafe had failed long before I left. My money had just prolonged the inevitable. And Kara? She moved to a new city, got engaged to someone else. I found out through a mutual friend who thought I'd care. I didn't. I still had the letter from my grandmother, though. I framed it, hung it on the wall in my office. Not because it made everything okay, but because it reminded me of the one voice in the family who had tried, even if too late. Eventually I found peace. Not the loud, triumphant kind. The quiet kind. The kind where you make breakfast in your own apartment and don't flinch when your phone buzzes. The kind where you build something not because you're expected to, but because you want to. And on my birthday, my first one spent alone in over a decade, I got one card, no name, no return address, just a single sentence. You were always the strongest one. Thank you for finally choosing you. I smiled. And for the first time in years, it wasn't bitter. It was free.